The front three in Pro are also under the same safety car. David Rigon leads James Collado, the two Ferrari, 71 ahead of 51. And then Aston Martin, 97. Alex Lynn is also in that queue. Nicky Thiem is not. He's in a separate queue in 4th for Aston Martin. And in GTM, it is Aston Martin Paul Danilana ahead of Sally Yolok, who got aboard the TF Sport Aston. And then Andrea Piccini in the Iron Lynx Ferrari. And they are all in the safety car queue together, 3.5 seconds at the moment, separating them under these safety car conditions. We are under safety car conditions for an impact for Alexander West through the Porsche curves. We've only lost one other car officially, and that was Eric Maris in the Euro International number 11 car that had a very strange off at the S's along 26 laps into the race.
They didn't look a very hopeful group that car is coming back. That's a real shame.
So the tall figure of Stefan Gehrig,
yes, it was,
who is Monsieur Carrera, or Mr. Carrera, the slot car magnate.
Not the magnet you get on the back of the car, but magnate.
And as opposed to Walter Brunn, who of course was the slot machine magnate.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Not that you used the magnet to stop, no.
Not that his money came from slot machines. Moving right along then. So first safety car of the race. Scrambled just over 15 minutes ago. And yeah, so for Stefan Gehrig and Christoph Ulrich, it does very much look as though that might be an early bath. First quarter of the moon starting to appear. It was a new moon 2 nights ago. And so now overnight here at Le Mans in September, it will be darker than at any other phase of the moon. So full moon will be 2 weeks from now. It doesn't always mean that full moon occurs at the midsummer weekend, but midsummer obviously has a shorter period of dark. It's effectively almost 12 hours from official sunup to official sundown, or the other way around, sundown to sunup this weekend. But that will mean around 10 hours of actual darkness.
Oh, back onto the pit apron. That's good news for the 55 crew. We heard a little earlier, and there's an awful lot of race tape there been applied. And a red door.
Yeah, that's not a green door.
No.
Shaky wants to know what's going on behind the green door.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess it's a bit battered. So bring me up to speed, since I was busy having me chips while
55 car, we think, may have actually taken a bit of a tag from a P2 car. And we know that our fabulous crew in the truck very good at noting which car it might have been. There was lingering shots of the 3660 Alpine in the aftermath of that. We saw nothing to indicate that as a fact. Duncan Cameron, a wild spin up towards Dunlop. That led to full puncture left front, delamination left rear, catastrophic damage on the left-hand side of the car, hence repair and replacement of bodywork.
Yep. And
you're going to be given that opportunity to see it again.
That's a United car that had just gone by him there. Doesn't seem to be much damage to the door, but I guess it's the tyre that did the damage.
We heard from Matt Griffin, didn't we, at the time, and he seemed to make a point that, yeah, there was contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the major damage, oddly enough, was done by the left rear, which did not puncture, but did completely delaminate. So that tyre stayed up.
Yeah.
And
that's rough, isn't it? You know, and he's doing his best. He's coming around at, you know, 40, 50 miles an hour, 80 Ks. And
yeah. There goes the mirror man.
Oh, very good. Early in the show.
Thank you. I'm here all night.
It's here all week. If you don't laugh, he sings. Gets a mention in Spirit of Race Ferrari out of the garage. Well done, gentlemen.
One team that's actually benefited from this safety car period anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have lost them less time out there on track, and Matt Griffin, I'm sure, will be up for whatever fight is left in that car. That car now running 57th position, but still alive.
Well, a fraction under 18 hours of racing left to go, and they are by no means the last car on the track, because Dom Bastian in the 88 Dempsey Proton car is circulating after that car lost 2 hours with an alternator failure. And
one of the other incidents you missed, Dom Bastian having a quick run straight on Arge, but regained the track. Our record-breaking driver, the 74-year-old debutant,
Lightning in the distance behind the Porsche building misspells Ben Constantiouris, so that's not entirely agreeing with my Met Office forecast of no rain pour ce soir.
Oh, you think there's not going to be rain?
The Met Office thinks there's not going to be rain.
That's right.
I
Covering your bases there.
Which Met Office?
Meteo France.
Oh, Meteo France.
Yeah, the Met Office.
Mind you, you look at the sky there and it looks pretty nice.
It does look nice, but then in the opposite direction, in the east, it's a little bit heavier. No proper cumulonimbus coming yet, but Toyota not entirely certain that they have fixed the cooling duct issues with our current race leader, Kazuki Nakajima's number 8 car. It came in with very hot brakes around an hour and a half ago. They worked on the brakes, cleaning out the brakes and the brake ducts, they believe. Had to do it again at the last stop because it was still running hot in the braking area, and they're not entirely certain that it is all fixed. One of the problems with brake ducts, of course, is they tend to be smaller than a human arm. And so, oh, there is lightning as well. That's very dramatic, isn't it? Now, lightning and lots of rain don't necessarily have to go hand in hand. It's the high pressure that brings the lightning about.
Are you reading that off Wikipedia or something?
That's Met Office training, dear. It does often mean that there is rain in the front, but again, may not necessarily meet us. Underneath that line, by the way, what a lot of debris there is. Wait till you get a shot of that approach into the Dunlop chicane again. So much broken bits of car on the right-hand side. It's ridiculous. Pretty much build half a car. It wouldn't be a very pretty car.
On the right from Dunlop chicane, I suspect most of that has come off the 55.
Actually, I know what it is. It's what used to be an enormous styrofoam board
yes.
that the 88 car went through sideways backwards.
And what was left of it, the 55 car, then wipes out.
Yes.
Finished off the job.
Yeah.
It's not been without incident, has it? Although, happily, no really serious incidents.
No, exactly so. Alan McNish, you're always a big fan of racing in the dark, particularly once the sun starts to really set and the light levels are you know, low. But one of the things that you said was you always get that sort of, in the nighttime, you always get the smell of Le Mans, which is all the barbecues and the campfires and so on. That's going to be utterly missing. For anybody who is used to racing at night, driving along and smelling the waft of a barbecue just isn't happening because there are no fans here.
Yeah, it's one of the differences that they won't necessarily notice unless you've done it a few times, and you get it at certain points on the circuit, diving down the S's out of Dunlop into towards Tetra Rouge, because there's a not big fan zone there on the left-hand side. Also, Indianapolis and Arnage, that area again where there's a big fan zone, always barbecues. And if you're in a long stint, not so much at this time because it's still quite early, but you know, 12:01 in the morning, and you've been in for 3 hours, and you're getting a touch hungry, you know, there is a point that it smells even better. But as you say, that's not going to be the case necessarily so much. It's going to be the marshals that are maybe having little barbecues, and that'll be all that you will as you're blasting around. The other thing that there's a little bit less, and Peter mentioned this and pointed it out the other evening, there's less light now, ambient light around the circuit, because there's no requirement for them for the fans area. And so in that respect, there's points that are a little bit darker, like into Arnage, into Mulsanne. Not very much, but still, it's a point of a difference.
Yeah, we saw that, didn't we, with the in-car shots in the night practice session, and we were trying to spot where those differences were, and they were legion.
Andrew Negro handing over to
Pierre Rag.
Pierre Rag again. How many times has Thomas Laurent driven this car? I don't remember saying his name other than to say he's one of the drivers of the car. Has he driven it before?
I think he has been in at least a couple of times. They've made some progress.
Three stints.
Still done 3 stints, as you asked last time.
They're coming back up the order, not clawing back the laps they lost at the start to that cooling problem, but inside the top 20 now, the Centric Alpine, their chance of retaining that title all but gone without a heck of a lot of luck at this point.
Well, you know, they're always a car you look to be on front-running pace. And as you say, they've clawed themselves up into top 20, 15th in LMP2. So they are still on front-running LMP2 pace. But that setback right at the very beginning, that's hit them hard and will chase them all the way through. So Alex Brundle there getting ready potentially for a pit stop at United Autosports.
That's the 32 car in the hands of Will Owen at the moment, and that car running third in LMP2, 7th overall, going very well, ahead of, and substantially ahead by the way, of the sister car.
View there of the pit buildings with all the team awnings and spares facilities behind. Then a little gap the roadway. That's normally the fence on the left of that roadway separates the awning from where the general public can get to. Some little restaurants and lots of team catering. And of course, no guests, no VIPs here. It is purely team catering.
So no full course yellows at this point in the 2020 Le Mans 24 hours. 25 minutes just about to hit for the safety car, this first safety car.
It's taken a long time. I'm a bit surprised by that.
I did notice they had one of the guys out with one of the blowers. I think they might think there's either tyre debris or carbon debris on the surface at what is a pretty critical point in the Porsche curves.
Quite often, Eduardo will have a little shopping list of jobs that need doing, and when you get a major incident, okay, you guys do this, you guys do that, and he's checking off now, doing the housekeeping, getting, as Graham says, getting debris cleared up from other places where marshals might be a little worried about it, and so they can go out between the safety cars and clear away stuff, replace floppies, sweep some gravel away, and you saw the leaf blowers exactly right to get stuff away. So there's as well as the safety extraction of the driver, there is also a chance to do other jobs. So they were definitely taking their time attending to Alexander West. And you know, when a driver's had a big impact, particularly a sideways impact, despite the hands devices, you always are very cautious about moving them and particularly allowing them to move themselves.
Well, if he's told them he's feeling pain, they will be very, very careful. And the extraction teams here and at every other circuit we visit with sports car racing, it is part of the lead-in to every single race. The extraction team go and work with teams in GT cars and prototypes to make sure they can get out safely.
Exactly
and quickly.
Right. Exactly right. And actually, do you know what? In the adrenaline of the aftermath of an accident, even if they're not complaining about pain, you make sure. I can remember quite clearly in Interlagos, in an IndyCar race, Mark Blundell smashing the Pac West car, getting out and walking along the banking at the top of the track before collapsing after about a dozen steps because he got a broken ankle. Adrenaline does very funny things to drivers. The put me in coach thing is not just down to baseball and field sports. It's very much an adrenaline-driven thing. 32 United Autosport car Will Owen with the 3 indicator lights down the side. They're blue because he's in LMP2, and that's the colour of the LMP2 class. And you can see the team on the radio chatting there from the Ferrari squad to their drivers. Confirmation
with the message we're getting on screen that under investigation, contact between 55 and 22. You're absolutely right. United Autosports is the car that it seems is the one that race control believe was involved in the accident that sent Duncan Cameron off track.
Well, if Cameron has reported contact, and the marshals on site will have likely recorded a possible contact.
Possible contact has been investigated.
You see one car going and another one flying through frame at the same time. It's very hard not to add 2 and 2 together.
Well, Duncan is experienced enough to know the difference between something he's made a mistake with and being hit. He's had a bit of that this year.
That was probably Paul de Resta at the wheel of that car.
I think that's probably right.
Yeah. Okay, driver change here. Alex Brundle taking over the 32 car from Will Owen.
I saw on Twitter a new lid for the weekend in family colours there.
Yep, and personal backing for Alex from Richard Mille, and one of his personal sponsors. Driven young man, former European LMP3 champion with United Autosports.
Yep.
Been pretty rapid this weekend as well.
And they've had a good season this season as well. Won the season opener in European Le Mans Series at Le Castellet. Led a United Autosports 1-2.
Whistle the song you'll think they're dancing to.
Never seen the hokey cokey done that. Oh, look at that little Mexican wave. One-man Mexican wave. You've got to make an effort, haven't you? You know. But it's still part of the pit crew life, isn't it? You can't sit and wait. You have to be constantly keeping yourself alert.
Well,
bear in mind,
when
the car comes in,
Bear in mind, some of these guys have done, well, about a month's worth of work in about 3 days.
Yeah.
EDEC Sport, those guys must be, well, almost on their knees, having, well, rebuilt 2 cars, one from scratch, one around a new tub.
Safety cars are coming in this lap. Safety car A, safety car B and safety car C will park themselves at their regular dispersal
Remind
points.
drivers, no
and so
overtaking
we will then
before
go back to
crossing
green
the
flag
line of each
racing.
safety car. No overtaking before crossing the line of each safety car. Track is green, safety cars are in, no overtaking before each of the safety car lines, please.
We go back to green flag racing after some 35 minutes of safety car following an accident for the AF Corsa Ferrari of Alexander West. He's being extracted from the car has been cleared away, lots of other debris-induced jobs have been done. And we get back into it in the battle for 6th position. Number 22, United Autosports. And that car in the hands now, Felipe Albuquerque, under investigation for potential contact with Duncan Cameron in the Spirit of Race Ferrari that put that car off and into the garage. But as of now, Felipe is chasing down the car in front of him, the Duquesne engineering car, Duquesne team car of Tristan Gomedy. And they are carving their way through other LMP2 and GT traffic, sweeping through the Porsche coast. It's a very different view, isn't it, Peter Dumbreck, in nighttime compared to daytime. The line of sight is much shorter.
They've got to be so careful as well. You saw that car decided that he saw the WeatherTech car was going to turn in, so he thought, no, I'll think better of that and not try and dive down the inside. A long way to go, 20 hours to go still, so it's all up for the fight.
So United car there nearly getting tagged by the WeatherTech car, and the car that it's battling with, the Ferrari in front of it. Is that the Risi car? And they are just in front of this battle, so it's multi-car battles. And of course, they've all been bottled up behind various different safety cars. You don't have one for LMP1, one for LMP2 or whatever. They're all just jammed together. And so you find cars of varying different paces being released all in one clump. And so suddenly you get lots of faster cars trying to find their way through and fight their way through really tight battles between the GT contestants.
Well, a real opportunity to make up places or get past a clump of cars in one fell swoop if the opportunity arises, but there's risks there too.
So looking down at the GTM, Andrea Piccini, who's already raced today, hasn't he?
Yep.
Has moved up ahead into 2nd place with the Iron Lynx car ahead of Sally Ulick. So Paul Dall'Anna still leading that class.
Pit stop infringement for car number 27, which is one of the 2 Dragon Speed cars, the white Dragon Speed car, for a pit stop infringement.
That's the car currently being pedalled by Henrik Edman. And that car currently running in 11th place in LMP2. It has got something of a gap to the car behind, so that shouldn't be too much drama in terms of race positions.
Softly, softly, catchy monkey. And their sister car, now in the hands of Juan Pablo Montoya, is up to 9th place in LMP2, so they are creeping up the order as others make mistakes or have incidents. So much of this race, Peter Dumbreck, is about avoiding problems, avoiding accidents that could come your way and not getting caught up in somebody else's mistake.
The amount of times drivers have got to the end of the race and thought, if I'd only just avoided that and that, that's where I was running, and now we're down there somewhere, and look, we would have been on the podium, or you know. So it's such a fine line to attack, but also to be cautious, especially with 20 odd hours left.
And this is one of the key times, isn't it? So much traffic. You can see the strobing of the lights as he goes past the top 2 in GT Pro. First Davide Rigon and then James Collado. Now he's got one of the GT Porsches in front, the less delayed of the 2, the 91 car. And this is Jimmy Bruni. He goes by the pole sitter in GT Pro, dives to the inside. He's got another car right in front of him. Richard Bradley there watching intently. Richard Dean with a headset on, and Paul di Resta walking away. Wasn't the brightest smile on Paul di Resta's face there, was it?
Of course, he's under investigation, so he's probably going to you know, state his case and say, well, I didn't touch him, Gov.
Yeah, well, he will know likely whether there was contact or not. And unfortunately, if there was, then they may be waiting for the axe to fall. Jackie Chan DC Racing leading in the LMP2 class with the number 37 car, 26G drive. John-Eric Verne chasing compatriot Gabriel Aubry, and Alex Brundle, the 32 United Autosports car, in third place.
Yeah, going back to that investigation with the 22 car, of course, the race control will have a lot of different images of that car. We actually haven't seen anything. We only saw the aftermath. But they will have circuit cameras, they'll have everything. They'll have onboard cameras, and they will go through every single one of them, take their time, and come to a decision on what actually happened.
Great views you get of these cars at night. They're looking up the red hot side exhaust of the number 22 car, and on the overrun as they brake hard and shift down, you see those blue stabs of flame, unburnt fuel burning its way through the exhaust as the cars are overfueled to help cool the cylinders. Right in front, Duquesne Team's Tristan Gomedy with Felipe Albuquerque. You ride on board now. Your head is stuck out in front of the windscreen in that view. Not a view you want in real life, obviously, but it gives you a fantastic image of what it looks like to be chasing close.
Just looking at the GTM battle, Andrea Piccini now into first place ahead of Paul Dalla
Yeah.
I think it's the first time that car has been in the lead. Piccini, obviously, highly rated driver, been around a long time, and definitely not a bronze driver, that's for sure.
Yeah, Andrea Piccini, very experienced, spent a lot of time racing in European Le Mans Cup, European Le Mans Series and Michelin Le Mans Cup. Now, I mangle the two together. Richard Dean, and in the background, his joint partner, the co-owner of United Autosports, Zach Brown, on hiatus from his duties at McLaren Formula One team. He'll be back in action with McLaren next week, so from Le Mans to Russia, not quite sure how much testing and sticks poked all the way up his sinuses he's going to need before he goes there, Peter.
Well, we've all had it.
We've all had it.
I had it yesterday. The stick went up, down my throat, down into my belly, and she pulled it back out again, and in the end she said, yeah, you're okay, mate.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Zach Brown, on a couple of occasions this year, has favoured coming and looking over what's going on here with United Autosports than an early start at one of the Formula One Grand Prix. Lots going on for United Autosports. They've announced an entry into Extreme E, the off-road series that kicks off next year, and have also now confirmed what known for a little wee while, which is they've been negotiating for and have now obtained the assets of, well, an ex-Le Mans class winning team, Straka Racing.
Yeah.
And they'll be announcing at the end of this month their re-entry into GT racing alongside their LMP programs.
And this battle between Tristan Gomedy and Felipe Albuquerque now catching the number 50 Richard Mille LMP2 prototype. Oh, did we spot a driver change there in...
Oh, it's back in.
No, it.
Oh, dear.
There's Duncan Cameron.
Oh, dear.
The shutters are coming down on the number 55
Oh, that's very
car.
sad.
So it was Matt Griffin getting the hugs and the commiserations from Duncan Cameron. Duncan was involved in this incident just at dusk. Not of his own making, it seems, and the car too badly damaged. You would sense perhaps that it's overheating because everything physically looked okay, and that is a real shame for the Spirit of Race boys. 33 coming back together now or not?
Well, it's been in for at least 2 long stops now.
Well, this is still the long stop, isn't it? We saw Kenti Yamashita sitting in a chair.
No, this is another stop.
Has it been back out again?
It's had 12 stops, that car.
Of course, that was a top 3 running car early in the race, so it was right up there. It was, I think they had high hopes of a victory.
Its gearbox has been the issue for the car for quite some time now. It's lost a heck of a lot of time. We'll have a quick look in the strategy laptop and find out just how much time. But it's dropped right to the bottom of the field now.
Well, these 2 cars still battling here. The Duquesne car of Tristan Gomedy, and right behind him Felipe Albuquerque. This is for 6th position, the car they were catching The Richard Mille Racing team, Tatjana Calderon, has brought it into the pits for a stop, so she was on an in-lap just ahead of them. And the Richard Mille Racing team car came in 10th place in LMP2. It's just lost that spot to Dragon Speed's number 27 car with Henrik Hedman at the wheel. And the leader is in, so this is the number 8 Toyota Kazuki Nakajima. So will they be doing more work on those brake ducts at the front of the car? It's had overheating brakes, and they weren't entirely certain that they had fixed their problem last time of asking. It loses the lead to the sister car, number 7 of Jose Maria Lopez. Meanwhile, battle for the lead in LMP2. Gabriel Aubry, a full third of a second at the line ahead of 26, Jean-Eric Verne. 37 is Jackie Chan DC Racing, Gabriel Aubry. And Verne right behind him. Would be interesting to see what tyres these guys have got on. I'm sure by now they're onto the softest nighttime rubber they've got. Goodyear leading, Michelin second. And so far in this race, nothing to choose between the two tyre companies. Goodyear, first-timers at Le Mans here in the LMP2 class, have done a great job in developing this range of product. But here comes Jean-Eric Verne, side by side. He's got a good run out of Tetra Rouge, whose headlights are in front. Gabriel Aubry still briefly in front as they race down to the first chicane.
Is that a white flag, or is that just a trick of the light?
I don't know. It could be a white flag,
Blue
could be a blue flag.
Blue flag.
With the
and
lights
Jeff's got
shining
a run
through.
on him. Jeff's got a run now.
Yeah, but he didn't get by that time. He had a run out of Tetra Rouge. Great LMP2 racing. Yeah, they are blue, aren't they? You can just see its slight colour to it. And Jeff is right behind, looking to dive out of the slipstream. Don't forget, we're going to have 12 hours of this where it's just a blur of headlights coming towards you. So if you haven't got your Andy Blackmore headlight spotters chart, that's because he's too lazy to make one.
It was a bit
Sorry,
of social media genius, Randy Blackmore.
Sorry, Andy, his spotter's guide is absolutely superb, as is ours. But ours is not commercially available. 260, 270, 280, 290, 300 kilometres an hour. They both top out at, but G-Drive's Jean-Eric Verne has the lead from Gabriel Aubry. Behind them, cars that are not on the lead lap. 42, Cool Racing. Nico Lapierre is right there and going very quickly indeed. He's getting a double toe off these guys. Lapierre might start to look to unlap himself. G-Drive with the Aurus chassis.
Sadly, he's going to have to do that twice more.
We're going to hear now from the G-Drive team and see what they've got to say. Well, that was short and sharp, succinct little radio message. It was a good battle. However, with 17 and a half hours to go, I don't think that one's over yet.
Yeah, David Leach, the G-Drive Racing race engineer. Hard racing team. They've had multiple disappointments here at the Le Mans 24 Hours. They're going to want this one badly.
Cool Racing car right behind Gabby Aubry is not for position. And Gabriel Aubry's engineer will tell him that. The 42 car is a lap behind them. And Nico Lapierre, in fact, it's 2 laps behind them. Nico Lapierre is 3 laps behind them, yes.
Quite how?
Oh, is that G-Drive into the pit lane?
It is.
It is. So that was his in-lap. And so again, looking at their strategy laptop, the engineer may well have told Gabriel Aubry, don't worry, it's his in-lap, carry on, do what you're doing. Don't make it easy, don't give a second away, but you don't have to fight him. However, when you lay down a marker like that, Peter Dumbreck, go wheel to wheel in the darkness and make the pass, it makes the driver feel very good indeed about himself and his car.
It does. I mean, let's face it, if he's given an opportunity to pass, regardless of what lap he's on, he's going to do it, you know, and it's a lift for the team, for the driver. I think we've got two laps for Aubry until his pit stop, so he's, you know, Verne's going to want to jump him and pull away.
Yeah, Van's got to get in fast, which he did. Passed for the lead on the in-lap. You don't get much quicker than that. And he's got to get out fast as well. That out-lap may be absolutely key. And don't forget, he'll have a lap up to speed by the time Gabriel Aubrey, or 2 laps up to speed by the time Gabriel Aubrey comes back out of the pit lane. Aubrey might come in with Jev, or come out with Jev, right in his door mirror.
Can I just ask a question now as John-Eric Verne goes back out onto the circuit, and in a couple of laps, as Peter said, we'll find out with the next pit stop from Aubrey where it ends out. We're on board with the 22, the United Autosports car, Felipe Albuquerque, and once again, this guy was on pole position. This car led right from the beginning and is now basically out of the direct fight at the front, 2 minutes and 14 seconds off the lead. I know it was caught in the wrong safety car, but where was the extra gap gone?
It's odd, isn't it? It did look there, by the way, as we're on board with the 22 car. He was losing ground to the P2 car ahead as well. It didn't have the speed of whichever the car was on the road in front of him there at that moment.
We also saw a lot of cars come and pit and be held in the pit lane,
yes,
which can make a difference, and it's hard to work out what's happening, you know, that.
You can drop a safety car, can't you? And that's what
you have to drop a safety car. It depends where you get, the safety cars come out straight away. And if you are behind one, whereas your main competition is just directly in front, could be 5 seconds in front, then it drops you one. And then if you pit, you have to wait until the next safety car comes through. But it's taken this car from fighting at the front to basically now having to hope that something happens to the cars ahead.
Absolutely.
Whereas their teammates' cars up in third place, Alex Brundle in the other United Autosports car is basically around about where Jean-Eric Verne is. 4 off.
That's the Barcoles.
It is.
And of course, where one safety car can deal you a bad hand, another one can bring you right back into play.
We saw Bruno Spengler have a big off in, was it qualifying?
Yeah, with the nose of the car. Something's fallen off.
It was the rear wing. The rear wing's gone.
Rear wing. Well, the nose went under the car in qualifying, and Bruno Spengler, unfortunately, this time the tail has fallen off the car.
Well, that's not the first time we've seen that for a Barcoles. That happened at Monza, as I recall, in testing, in the when we had the WEC prologue with some night testing, and the rear end of the car disintegrated, but that was definitely the rear wing came off the back of that car, and this is a 22 car.
Yeah.
No, it's not right, that car, you know.
Felipe Albuquerque going straight through the first chicane. Right, left, right. And having a good wiggle to try and make sure that everything is still roughly attached where it should be. Safety car. Well, that might be a godsend for United Autosports. Felipe Albuquerque will want a little moment for the team to examine some data and see if he can learn anything, or they can learn anything about what happens. Of course, now everybody slowing down a little, but waiting to catch up the safety car. Safety car A comes out at the start-finish line. Safety car B comes out on the Mulsanne straight from the first chicane, I think. And
yeah,
safety
it's
car
first,
C
just after the first
Arnage.
chicane. And they're out now, so safety car out to the second chicane, or coming to the second chicane, is the leader, Lopez. Just trying to see where everybody else is. I think the second place car is still in that safety car as well.
Yeah, 46 seconds behind. He'd be very unlucky.
Is that another car off? That's not the same car.
4.
No, that's a different place. That's on the straight. That's at the second. That's the first chicane.
That could have been why Albuquerque blew the chicane.
Yeah. So who's that?
Unless Spengler's managed to move off and stop, but that's definitely not the same place, is it?
Why would you stop at a chicane if it was drive? Oh,
no, it's the crane.
No. Oh, nice work in the truck. Let's hear from
22.
United. That's Tristan Gomedy at the side of the road. Has there been contact?
I think Gomedy is done and crashed into the guy. Let's continue.
So he's saying he's got contact from Gomedy as well.
Crashed into me.
Yeah.
Oh.
He spun and crashed into him. So drama for two of the leading LMP2 squads. Duquesne in the wall, Tristan Gomondy, and what it looks like an innocent victim of that might well have been Felipe Albuquerque.
Well,
says he's...
Sometimes it's just not your day.
Now, I wonder that... I wonder if Gomondy ran over the debris of that Bicollis.
The Bicollis car, the rear wing actually came into the gravel trap as well. It bounced around and came into the gravel.
Yeah, but what else fell off the back of that car?
Somebody was close behind. I wonder. Doesn't take much, does it? And what's
First
that
of all,
in the gravel?
the rear wing should never fall off.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's unacceptable.
That's fairly fundamental. Is bits that are screwed onto the car should remain in place until unscrewed.
Second time we've seen that in international sports car racing this year. It happened to Tony Wells in the new Duquesne at Paul Ricard, which led to all of them being recalled.
Here is Lazarus, the 88. Rumours of its demise, which were officially spread by the team, have proved to be a little premature. And Dom Bastian, 74 years young, who before the week started said, "Judge me by my results, not by my age," who's bringing the car back into the pits. They are running last in the field at the moment, but the car ahead of them, the 55 Spirit Race Ferrari, has had the draw pulled. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was a big hit. That was a huge hit.
Oh, that's why I was looking at there and thinking that barrier is very buckled. That barrier is going to take a lot of repairing.
That was a huge hit to the rear of the car, so he's spun in the braking zone.
Medical is there.
Not surprising. Speared across. That's the point at which it would appear that Albuquerque believed there was contact, and then backwards across the road. You can see the line of the tyre marks across the road.
Yeah, from where those headlights are about now, you see the beginning of the tank slapper. It spins one way, bounces off the barriers, and oh boy, Yannick Dalmas on the right-hand side there, the driver who advises Eduardo Freitas.
Well, that car is out of the race, end of. That was a huge, huge incident.
There'll be nothing salvageable rear of the firewall on that. That will have destroyed the gearbox and very likely the engine casing as well. And that will have really, really given a massive shot to the back of Tristan Gomondy.
That's a huge winding at best.
Yep.
So Bicollis carried to a place of safety. Oh, that's another car that will be gone.
I'm not sure that I'm going to be too premature with this. The
Mark of Doom?
Well, no, Mark of Doom doesn't exist here. This is the Sharpie of ill repute, and I'm afraid it goes through the Bicollis number 4 as well. We've already had to cross out the number 11 Euro International LMP2 car, which stopped inexplicably under Eric Maris and never returned to the pits.
52 and 55, I'm afraid, will join that on the list.
55 pulled the garage door down. 52, yes, I don't think that will be racing again after Alexander West's accident, so... Oh, goodness me. Right, well, let's hear what United Autosport have to say. This is Felipe Albuquerque again.
Philippe, just in case we need to go and argue, was there anything to do with you with Gomondy going off? I mean, I know you were near him. No, we did not. We were 3 wide. I was on the outside, braking normally, and I think he spun and hit me on the side. So if it was something to do, was with Max Xavier and Gomondy. Copy that.
Again, the voice of Gary Robertshaw, cool, calm and collected, and if we need to go to the stewards because you were there, and he's saying 3 wide. I wonder who was the third car.
Well, there's 2 things there. One is that they're already under investigation for a previous incident which looks like it was prior to Felipe getting in the car, and that was for the last safety car. And thankfully, driver out, helmet off, standing up on his own.
That's Tris Gomondy.
Yeah, going into the car.
That's the best news.
But the other thing is that it was 3 wide, which we couldn't see with the lights.
Well, let's take a look. What do we see now on board the 38 Jota car? Oh, that's the wing coming off the Bicollis.
Hit the curb or hit the marker, and the wing came off the car.
No, I think the wing is a bump there. Just prior to that, there's a little bump, and over the bump, that was the extra force that's then dropped the whole wing element off.
Yeah. Yikes.
He
Well,
was a lucky boy. Benoit Treluier had an accident there a few years ago with a similar thing.
That was the Pescarolo run Peugeot.
Exactly, and the car rolled, so he was actually quite lucky that it stopped as it did.
Leader yet again in LMP2 is the 37 Jackie Chan DC racing car of Gabriel Aubry. Where did they finish last year? Or the year, was it the year before? They've been on a podium before.
They've been overall second.
Yes.
In fact, overall second and third.
Overall second, that's right, in the race that nobody won.
Absolutely. So the two Jackie Chan...
2017?
Yes. The then Jackie Chan DC racing pair of cars finished on 2 steps of the podium.
Yes. Goodness me.
So the bike-collar is done.
Jackie Chan
Although,
won't be getting
hang
much
on, you
sleep
know,
tonight,
as I say it, he fires the car up.
You know why? That's because I've used the...
marker of the ill repute.
Sharpie of ill repute.
Yeah, but he's not sure where to go.
No, well, he's now got to back it up and turn it around, and he might have been better to ask them to put it on the crane the other way around. However, you know,
well,
what do you do as a racing driver? Do you bring it back to the pits and go, guys, I think you'll find this is broken, and walk away and count your blessings, or do you then...
There was a question whether or not they allow him to restart that car.
I think that's the point, is that normally it should be judged why it came off, and therefore I would expect the team to be in a position to ensure that it would not happen again if they put a new tail onto it, new rear wing, and to run again. And the FIA and the ACO are part of that process. You know, they are there to police the regulations, but they're also there to ensure safety. And know that, and I know from personal experience, they do follow through if there is a failure, what the reason for the failure is, and then also what the solution is prior to allowing the car to go.
Well, to give you, for instance, as to what happened, the previous incident we saw this year with the new LMP3 car at Paul Ricard, failure of the wing coming into Scene Corner. A horrible place for that to happen. Tony Wells had no clue, I think, what had happened. I think he thought it had a puncture. Immediately on the scene afterwards was the head of technical delegates at the ACO to check both the wing and the mounting point. Duquesne then took the decision to recall all of the wing assemblies and have them redesigned and resubmitted.
Well, you know, it's not just your reputation, it's every driver's life at stake, and that is the Bike-Collars grinding its way
into the wall.
Yeah.
Now he's
front and back on now.
You know, Bruno, God love him, but really, give it up. You don't want to be racing it again. I suppose it's better than walking back, but
I'm not quite sure why he drove into the barrier, though.
I think he hit
a bump on the grass on the inside, Alan. It bumped over something and seemed to pitch him into it.
I think he's not got steering on the right wheel. It did look quite low, dragging itself along.
I don't like to say it, but it does seem to me they're not that keen on seeing it back again.
Let's hear from G Drive. Number 26 car is our race leader.
Okay, so Jota are now released on pit exit, so they are behind us. We are P1, and Alex Brundle is P2.
Jackie Chan DC Racing also back out of the pit lane into the queue, and Alex Brundle P2. The missing information there, Alan, was that is the set of headlights behind you.
Yeah, well, that's the set of headlights directly behind, but also Alex Brundle owes a pit stop, so therefore he should be in the pits in about 4 laps' time if it was full racing speed. Jev, who is in the car, Jean-Eric Verne, is in the 26 that had the radio. He pitted 2 laps ago, and as we know that Gabriel Aubry is pitted in that Jackie Chan DC racing car, and so it's pretty close there. The thing is, Alex will have significantly less fuel on board. Yeah. And so from that perspective, then he's in a position where the car becomes much more agile here. But I'm just going to check to see how old these tyres are, because that's the thing is, when your tyres are quite used, you actually have a lot of pickup in these situations where it picks up all the garbage off the ground, and then you just don't have grip.
And of course, the last time those two were together, Alex Brundle was defending his position against Jean-Eric Verne when Jev had no fuel on board and was getting ready to come back in. So Fritz van Aert? No, that's got to be Gerd van der Gaard. I think it's a little too tall. And they're cutting the barrier out. This is going to be a long safety car. They're cutting out what remains of that barrier. They'll have to make sure that the mounting posts haven't moved. If they have, they're going to have to be redug and reconcreted back in, and new barrier is going to have to be bolted back in. You won't weld it on, it's got to be bolted in, so there's quite a lot of work to be done there, Graham.
Question here for Alan, really, and it's around Alex Brundle. There is strategy that potentially come into play here. He's got a safety car period. He's not that far away from the end of his fuel stint. Do you take the opportunity to get yourself on that strategy?
Well, you would have to drop behind the next safety car.
But otherwise,
so
you could go green.
Limited, you take your limit of loss, and it's more than likely less loss. The thing is, you would drop behind the safety car, but you'd also drop behind the number of cars that are in that safety car group, which is really the point now. And I'm trying to see which group he is in.
He's in, right, it's the one that just came through. It's coming through Mulsanne corner now. He's in that group.
Well, he should do it, because the safety car behind him has only got about 5 cars in it, so that's 5 cars of traffic. Then you've got probably 5 clean laps before you hit the next big gaggle of traffic. If he's in the one passing the start-finish line in front of us in our comms box now, it's got, I think, about 3/4 of the grid in there. So if you go to the back of that, you've just got traffic central.
Clear up at Arnage. The barrier, I'd say we won't go green for 30 minutes or so, because that is a lot of work to be done on those barriers. Some cars will be forced into the pit lane because they are running out of fuel. Number 8 Toyota coming in because they will also need, it's only been in a couple of laps ago, but they also need to check on that brake cooling. Looks as though that issue may not have gone away.
Has it received damage? Because that happened when I was off air. Did the 8 receive damage? Is it rubber that's broken it or something?
I think
it's twice had a significant debris retrieval that's going to the garage.
Debris, leaves, rubber, all that muck.
Well, remember they said to Brendan Hartley in his first stint they had put a lot of hybrid recoup to save the front brakes, so this problem's actually been there from the start of the race.
So twice we've seen that car with the team putting great efforts in to clear the cooling ducts of the brakes. That car is now in the garage.
Problem is that these cooling ducts, it's not just a duct in, it's also the whole airflow and the way that it distributes the air to come through to cool the brakes, to cool the caliper, but also aerodynamics as well, and that's what they're in. So it is quite a complex thing to try to change, but it's clearly in that right front.
Because of the recuperation system as well, look at that huge enclosure around it, so if the muck is getting through the cooling ducts, maybe that's full of rubber and leaves and rubbish as well.
That is what they're changing. That's the problem, is the damage in that whole thing, because that's the aero. It's not actually round, it's the aerodynamics that are providing that, not for the brakes.
With thanks to the other Al Moffat at Toyota Gazoo Racing, they are taking the opportunity under the safety car to investigate and fix the brake cooling issue.
Well, they have to, because otherwise they're risking a Toyota 1-2.
Yes.
And that's what they want. They want this car to finish second, no matter what else happens. And so every effort to stop it boiling its brakes and destroying its hybrid system, one or the other or both, would be absolutely fatal to its hopes of finishing in second place or even on the podium. What they don't want is to have 1 Toyota left and 2 healthy rebellions.
Indeed. At the moment, the closest rebellion a lap down on the pair of Toyotas.
Kaz Nakajima in the car, having a top-up with fluids.
And Norman Nato is the closest man that could take advantage of this delay.
Will he get onto the same lap? Will he get ahead?
Just looking to see which safety car train he's in and how much of that lap he is behind.
They only have 8 minutes. That's 7 minutes 45 roughly is a safety car lap. So,
but just looking at the screen, there's a question mark for me. Gabriel Aubry in the 37 Jackie Chan DC Racing looks like it's stopped at Porsche. That's his outlap.
No. At
the moment we're looking at Toyota, but just looking there.
It is stopped on the moving map. You're absolutely right.
That is the car, and it's coming out of. Yeah, he said he's
facing the wrong way.
Yeah, that's him.
It's facing the wrong way.
It's facing the correct way. The door's open.
He's looking in the passenger side.
That's coming in towards Porsche. So halfway between Arnage and Porsche, stopped on the right-hand side of the circuit. And that's something in the cockpit, because he had a torch looking into the cockpit. So it's not a wheel, it's not something that's loose on the tyres, which normally you'd think of first of all if it's coming out of the pits.
Apart from the driver, what else is in the cockpit? Drinks
Electronics.
bottle, electronics, battery.
And Toyota's had to take the outside drum off to see what it is. As you can see, it's quite complex. All those little yellow parts there, that's temperature sensors. And so, you know, it's not purely just an air duct like normally you would think of it. It's the complete aero performance and the way that it ducts air through for cooling of the brakes and also for the front downforce.
And they confirmed earlier on that rubber debris was stuck in the braking duct. There is Gabriel Aubry.
No
What
lights at all on that car.
Dreadful, dreadful situation. From the race lead, he's just left the pit lane, and the car has come to a grinding halt. Is the light coming from a phone? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, it's from a phone. It's from a phone.
He's messaging them back. He's on the team's WhatsApp or Discord, and here he is, dead stick, no lights. And the only glow is
that's it.
From what?
That's
from the
Harnage.
RDS system.
Harnage, yeah.
Sorry, he's been rolling for quite a little while there. So it's not as if that's instantaneous. This is the accident. See one car going through.
Yeah.
There's already one car going through the chicane.
And that's Albuquerque coming through the chicane afterwards. So somebody went off and didn't see who was the car ahead of Felipe Albuquerque, but it was Tristan Gomedy, whose Duquesne team car.
That's destroyed.
That's what remains of it, and here's the aftermath. They are cutting and slicing and repairing barriers as fast as they can. They've got Porter Power there, jacking it all back into place. Marshall's doing a whole host of clear up as well. So Jota, they can't believe it. The 37 Jackie Chan car has been absolutely relentless at the front of the field. 86 is in the pits. And who came in this car? This is the Gulf Racing Porsche, Mike Wainwright. Rebellion watching what's going on with Toyota. They're going to get their lap back, aren't they? Where's Norman Nato in which safety car queue? Here he is, coming down to the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight. So he's
safety car
3 or 4 minutes away.
He's
half a lap.
Yeah,
half a lap.
Yeah.
It's 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes from here under safety car conditions.
Yeah. And then he gets his lap back from Kaz Nakajima in the 8 car, but then he's at the back of the lap.
One other thing these two safety cars have done is effectively mean that the battle in GTE Pro is down to 3 cars right now, AF Corsa and Aston Martin Racing, but Corsa 51 and 71, and in the sandwich there is the Aston Martin Racing of 97 with Alexander Lynn, with Maxime Martin and also Harry Tinknell. And so basically, Ferrari's got 2 bullets in the gun,
yeah.
Aston's got 1. 4th place now is the other Aston Martin, but 4.5 minutes behind.
Which is a safety car gap, isn't it?
Two safety car gaps.
2 safety car gaps. Oh, blimey, they've been doubly.
And finally back into the pits comes the Bicolis.
Which is now not the number 4, but the number 2.5, because there's so little left of it. And Bruno Spengler, does the wing drop off there? And then it spins through that dip?
Yes.
It was actually at a bit of oversteer, so I presume it's dislodged. And then on the bump, it's actually just sent it.
Yeah, it's just dropped backwards, so he's got...
I dropped off.
Yeah, a little rear grip and then flown off. And then it's just dragged. Well, it's run down the hill into the barriers, hasn't it? It honestly is sending them a message. OK, I'm done with this race now. And if Bruno gets back into that car and drives it out of the pit lane again, then he's a braver man than I. Well, I think we already accept that, but he does need to.
Oh,
when you've had the warning, is that
that's the
fire
37.
in the hold for 37?
That's got a G on the front.
G-drive.
That's the 16 car.
Oh, would everybody stop doing this?
Yeah, 16 right behind where Gabriel Aubry is. He's actually about 100 meters behind where Aubry is in the 37.
Oh dear me.
That's Ollie Jarvis in the G-Drive by Algarve car.
Ironically, next Jackie Chan DC Racing driver.
Nose going back on the number 8 Toyota.
That's only 5 laps in that stint for that particular car, so it's not as if it's run out of fuel. It was having problems with fueling, but it was able to do 7 laps every time. And in fact, the last stint, for whatever reason, he did 9 laps, so I'm not really sure how they were able to suddenly achieve 2 more laps. But it was 5 on this one.
Colin Collins in the background there, examining the back of the car. Well, they're starting work.
Have a look.
Is Bruno Spengler still sitting in the cockpit, or has he beat a Haiti restrict? Down in the pit lane, Hayley Edmonds. Hayley, it's a quiet pits at the moment. What do you know?
So I'm down here, as you know, with car number 4. For the moment, it's been confirmed it's just bodywork damage that could be replaceable. You're correct in saying Bruno has come out of the car. He's no longer in the cockpit. As I say, they're just assessing the damage, sorry. And hopefully, as they said, it's just bodywork, but they're still, you know, they're not fully aware of the whole situation for the moment.
All right, well, we'll send you, thank you, Hayley, send you on your way, if you can, to Jackie Chan DC Racing, find out what they know about the problems for 37, the long-term race leader. 6 hours, 54 minutes. They must have led at least 6 hours of this race in LMP2. And our other question mark is the 16 Algarve run G driving car of Ollie Jarvis, but you might want to go to Jackie Chan DC Racing first. I think the Algarve garage may be a state of little agitation at the moment. There is Ollie Jarvis's car, and it's got lights on, but he obviously can't get that fired either, or can't get it into a position where it's trying to restart.
Unlike the 37, which was lifeless.
Number 8 has dropped down into third place. Through in the queue has gone the Rebellion of Norman Nato. Rebellion is second, and out goes the Toyota number 8. As it leaves the pit lane, its internal combustion engine fires, and off they go. Also leaving the pit lane, Frits van Aert, Racing Team Netherlands. He got out before that safety car. And so the Toyota team have got both cars back out on track, but it's not right now, and we still have 17 hours to go, looking like the third time lucky for the number 8 Toyota Gazoo Racing entry. They've won the last 2 years here at Le Mans. The last 24 hours have fallen to the 3 drivers of this car, to Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima, and of course, in the last 2 years, Fernando Alonso. They've been joined this year with Alonso moving back to drive single-seaters, with Brendan Hartley at the wheel. Fernando will now be going, yeah, well, it was all about me. On board with the number 1 Rebellion, in the safety car queue ahead of the number 8 Toyota, but not by much. There'll be a few cars between them. The gap shown as they enter timing sector 2 at Arnage as just a smidge under 8 seconds. And that will mean probably a dozen cars between them in the safety car queue. Definitely seeing that this is going to be a long, I would say maybe quarter past the hour. We might get going again, but still they're cutting stuff out rather than bolting stuff in.
Yep, they're pretty used to it though, because they've had quite a lot of practice over the years. But just one other little update. At the moment, there's no rain expected, but there's still that chance of showers coming around about, but it's reducing now to 40% about midnight.
Well, for all the lightning that we saw in the clouds above us a couple of hours ago, so far, nothing to report from that. And the forecast is, as Alan says, we might get away without a major downpour. Hayley reporting from the pit lane that Jackie Chan DC Racing are not yet prepared to tell us what's going on with their car. I think quite possibly because they're not quite sure yet what is going on with their car. And they're on the phone to Gabriel Aubrey. And there's the number 16 car. It is moving again. Ollie Jarvis and his team have managed to somehow work through the Patterns on the steering wheel, the control alt deletes and all the other things you have to do, and he's got it fired up again. It's spitting gravel off everywhere because he's been running down the side of the road. And he is heading back to the pit lane. He wasn't far away, was he, Al?
No, he was quite fortunate.
Yeah.
Where it was when he stopped.
The Porsche curves. Not a distance you'd want to push it, mind. My iPad has chosen to depart the scene and fall over. So Toyota having a quick conflab. That does not have the look of two gentlemen who are happy that everything is fixed. I may be misreading their body English, but that didn't look relieved and overpleased. Jose Maria Lopez then at the wheel of our race, leading number 7 Toyota, and this trio are leading the FIA World Endurance Championship points.